Hey guys, this is Leeza, and today I wanted to talk about orgasm equality and the orgasm gap. Research shows that within heterosexual relationships, women tend to have far fewer orgasms than their male partners. And this disparity of orgasms is called the orgasm gap. If you're a straight woman yourself, you've probably experienced the orgasm gap firsthand. And while women are often told that female orgasms are just really complicated or mysterious or difficult to achieve, it's worth considering the fact that in lesbian relationships, women report significantly more frequent orgasms than women in heterosexual or straight relationships. So, is it really that female pleasure is so complicated and difficult? Or is it that in man-woman relationships, female pleasure just isn't enough of a priority? Female pleasure is all too often sidelined, and not just by men. Because of the way that sex has been presented in the mainstream for the longest time, female sexuality is sidelined even by women themselves. From a young age, we're made to think of sex as something that exists for the man's pleasure or for procreation. It's something that women are made to think of as an obligation, something just to get done with, or something that they owe their husbands. We're rarely made to think of it as an activity that we could be enjoying ourselves. Most people grow up thinking of sex as penetration, that sex is something that begins with erection and ends in ejaculation, and everything else is secondary. So the penis takes center stage and the male orgasm becomes this measurable ultimate goal. In everything from biology textbooks to mainstream porn, female pleasure barely gets a mention. We're just sort of made to think that what's good for him should be good for her. We're taught so little about the female body and female pleasure that most men, and even many women, struggle to correctly label a diagram of the female external genitals, let alone a detailed diagram of the clitoris. I definitely think you should take screenshots and study these, by the way. In fact, according to Dr. Laurie Mintz, a psychology professor and expert on human sexuality, and also the author of this book called Becoming Clitorate, the single biggest cause for the orgasm gap is ignorance around the clitoris. Most women need some amount of clitoral stimulation to orgasm, but men and women aren't often taught anything about the clitoris, and many even struggle to find exactly where it is. Also, because women are made to feel from a young age that they should downplay their sexuality and that they should be ashamed of it, even when women do know what makes them feel good, many of them don't feel comfortable sharing that with their partners or asking for what they want. Men, on the other hand, are encouraged to present themselves as sexually confident and assertive, even if they don't actually know what they're doing. And women fake orgasm routinely. So men can go for years and years acting in blind confidence without even realizing that they don't actually know what they're doing. In fact, because women fake orgasm so often, many men think that the orgasm gap doesn't exist or that it's much smaller than it really is. So we've got to stop faking orgasm. I know it can be super tedious and sometimes it's just easier to get the whole thing over with by faking it, but we deserve satisfaction, and why delude our partners into believing we're satisfied when we're not? So how do we close the orgasm gap? We've got to get better at understanding our own pleasure as well as communicating it to our partners. But how do we do that? It isn't as easy as it sounds, right? Because, well, we still have such a long way to go. Unfortunately, sex education is pretty much non-existent in India, and even in most of the countries where it does exist, it kind of sucks. So we don't really have reliable sex-positive information coming to us. We have to seek it out. We have to take that time and make that effort to educate ourselves on our own bodies and our own pleasure, and hopefully partners can do that together, because it is so worth your while to understand how everything works. The book I'd mentioned earlier is a great place to start, and there are also many more like that. Fortunately, there's so many good books that have been written, and if you just do a little bit of internet research on the subject, you will find a wealth of resources. One of my personal favorites is a website called omgyes.com. It is the single most amazing study of female pleasure I've ever come across, and I highly, highly recommend checking it out. As women, we ourselves need to get so much more comfortable with our own bodies. It's so important that we feel good in our skin, that we feel good exploring our own sexuality and pleasure and asking for what we want. We need to normalize this stuff. It should just be a completely normal thing to talk about and ask for and think about and discuss what feels good for women. But all of that said, of course, if sex becomes all about whether or not you orgasm, it's going to be no fun. It shouldn't become a pressure or an anxiety either for you to get there or for your partner to get you there. Enjoy the journey and you'll be much more likely to reach your destination. All in all, when it comes to the orgasm gap, there's clearly tons of work to be done and lots of thinking to be done around why it exists, what the reasons are for it, and hopefully this video will make you think about some of that stuff, about gender equality in relation to pleasure, and hopefully also you and your partner will soon have a more orgasm-equal sex life. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a big thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave me a comment, follow me on social media. I will see you next time. Bye.